He built a bunker, but not for himself. After touching something that fell from the sky, a grieving father begins to see visions of his dead wife, warning him that the end of the world is closer than anyone thinks. But when his daughter starts dying and the government closes in, he makes one final choice that could either restart life on Earth or erase it forever. The question is, what did he see inside that crater that changed everything? Deep in the arid wilderness, operatives Kane and Rowe make their way to a secluded Mexican household. After methodically scanning the area for any potential threats, they attempt to question the husband. However, he merely repeats the word renewal and hands over his rosary in silence. His wife reveals something astonishing. He was once blind, yet now sees perfectly. She then leads the agents to a mysterious crash site, the very place where an unidentified object fell from the heavens, marking the beginning of inexplicable events. Meanwhile, auto technician Daniel stands solemnly before his late wife's grave, whispering to her that their daughter will be visiting soon. Leaving the cemetery behind, he sets off for work, tuning in to a radio broadcast discussing the grim realities of an ongoing global conflict. Upon arrival at the repair shop, he finds his colleagues idle. The economy is in shambles and customers are scarce. Though determined to keep pushing forward, Daniel is disheartened when his boss declares the shop's closure. Just as the announcement sinks in, a former soldier named Victor arrives, hoping for employment, but Daniel regretfully turns him away. That evening, Daniel visits a local bar, where an outspoken man begins ridiculing the military. Victor, unable to ignore the provocation, confronts him. The tension escalates, and the aggressor arrogantly steals Victor's drink before leading him outside. Sensing danger, Daniel follows, only to find Victor encircled by a gang. As two thugs restrain him, the instigator launches an attack. When Daniel demands they stop, they disregard him, forcing him to intervene. Yet, despite their resistance, both he and Victor are swiftly overpowered. The fight takes a cruel turn when Victor's prosthetic limb is ripped off, exposing his vulnerability. Mocking their defeated foes, the gang disperses. Daniel retrieves the artificial leg and offers Victor a ride home. Their drive is filled with tense silence, punctuated by sharp exchanges, before Victor is dropped off at the rehabilitation center where he resides. Returning home, Daniel is met with an unexpected scene, his daughter Annalise waiting with a birthday cake. However, her presence comes with distressing news. She has been forced to withdraw from college due to unpaid tuition fees. Despite Daniel's assurances that he will find a way, Annalise insists she doesn't want him overburdening himself. Their conversation ends with her handing him a watch engraved with a sentimental message. Overwhelmed, Daniel turns to alcohol to drown his troubles, but finds the house devoid of liquor. Determined to secure a drink, he drives off into the night. While on the road, something extraordinary occurs. A fiery entity streaks across the sky, plummeting toward the earth at alarming speed. As Daniel attempts to veer away, his car careens off the road and crashes into a dense forest ravine, flipping over upon impact. When he regains consciousness, battered and bleeding, he spots a shadowy figure moving through the trees. Drawn by the soft murmur of his own name, spoken in a hauntingly familiar voice, he stumbles forward in pursuit, but his injuries quickly take their toll, causing him to collapse. The following morning, Annalise grows increasingly anxious when her father fails to return home and does not answer his phone. She contacts law enforcement, only to be told that a full day must pass before he can be reported missing. Undeterred, she scours the city for leads, eventually discovering his overturned vehicle abandoned in the ravine. Yet, Daniel is nowhere to be found. As night descends, Annalise refuses to give up, illuminating the forest with her flashlight. When the batteries die, she returns to her car in despair. But as she starts the engine, her headlights reveal an astonishing sight: Daniel, standing eerily still in the middle of the road. Later, at the hospital, Daniel awakens to find the same mysterious figure speaking to him. Meanwhile, a doctor pulls Annalise aside with baffling information. According to medical records, Daniel had donated a kidney to his late wife. Yet, new scans show that both of his kidneys are fully intact. Once discharged, Daniel returns home, plagued by visions of the enigmatic woman who keeps appearing before him. Seeking clarity, he sits in his late wife's favorite chair, allowing memories to resurface. He recalls the moment he stumbled into a massive crater, where the celestial object radiated an otherworldly glow. As he drew near, organic tendrils emerged from it, coiling around his arm. That night, as Annalise sleeps, Daniel hears his name carried by the wind. He follows the voice into the woods, where he is astounded to find his wife, Evelyn, standing before him. Their reunion is heartfelt yet otherworldly, culminating in a powerful vision. Evelyn reveals that a catastrophic war looms on the horizon, and Daniel must construct a safeguard to protect their daughter. The next morning, as news broadcasts confirm escalating tensions, Daniel heads to the barn and begins drafting his plans. Elsewhere, Agents Kane and Rowe argue with their superior, who deems their mission to retrieve alien artifacts frivolous amid the growing war crisis. Orders to terminate the operation have already been issued, but Kane refuses to comply, believing extraterrestrial technology could provide a strategic advantage. Their determination leads them to a lab, where they receive devastating news. The specimen they retrieved from the desert has perished. It appears that these alien beings cannot withstand intense heat. In desperation, Kane authorizes an autopsy on the enigmatic Mexican man, while Rowe is tasked with delivering the grim news to his widow. Back at home, Annalise immerses herself in old family videos, seeking solace in the past. Meanwhile, Daniel tracks down Victor at the rehabilitation center, extending an offer for work. The two men drive to the crater, where they find that grass has begun to sprout around the alien object. Using a winch, they manage to hoist it onto the truck bed, though Victor recoils upon touching it, unnerved by an inexplicable sensation. Upon returning home, Daniel dedicates himself to his secretive project in the barn, a change that does not go unnoticed by Annalise. That evening, she discovers her father sorting through Evelyn's belongings. She suggests splitting the items between storage and charity, hoping it will help them move forward. However, Daniel refuses, asserting that pretending Evelyn is gone will not bring closure. Meanwhile, at the rehab center, Victor experiences an alarming transformation. A strange growth has appeared on his amputated limb, pulsating with an unnatural energy. The following day, he joins a protest against the war alongside fellow veterans. When tensions escalate, an onlooker spits at a wheelchair-bound veteran, igniting a scuffle. Victor steps in to defend his comrade, but in the aftermath, he realizes his stump is bleeding profusely. Back at the barn, Daniel makes a startling discovery. The alien artifact is deteriorating due to exposure to sunlight. Just then, Victor arrives, demanding answers about his bizarre affliction. Moments later, Annalise stumbles upon the scene, alarmed by the sight of blood. She insists on taking Victor to a hospital, but Daniel refuses and unveils the shocking truth. Victor's leg is regrowing, just as his own kidney had. Determined to unlock the artifact's full potential, Daniel retrieves tanks of cooling gas and places them around the object. As soon as Victor is positioned near it, the vines extend and encircle his arm. Within moments, his leg is fully regenerated. Overwhelmed, Annalise faints at the sight. In her unconscious state, she relives her mother's final moments, awakening in a panic the next morning. To her astonishment, Victor now walks on two flawless legs, radiating disbelief and joy. Later, Victor and Annalise join Daniel in the barn, where he unveils his ultimate creation, a protective capsule designed to withstand an impending catastrophe. Annalise, though skeptical, listens intently as her father pleads for her trust. Meanwhile, Daniel visits his old friend Marcus at the scrapyard, acquiring a seemingly insignificant piece of metal. The two later visit a bar, where Daniel cunningly ensures that Marcus drinks himself into unconsciousness, setting the stage for his next move. Daniel discreetly slips the car keys from his friend Marcus's pocket, leaving him passed out in the front seat. With a quiet nod to Victor, they enter the junkyard and take everything needed to finish their secretive project, including an entire cement mixer truck. Under the cover of darkness, they transport their stolen haul to a long-abandoned factory, a place shrouded in secrecy where they can work undisturbed. As they navigate the winding forest road, they spot figures moving through the trees, federal agents scouring the area. The next morning, Marcus wakes up groggy in his vehicle, none the wiser about the theft, with his keys mysteriously back in his pocket. Meanwhile, in the forest, the agents finally reach the crater, only to find a minuscule remnant of the extraterrestrial entity. The local sheriff advises them to track down Daniel, mentioning his miraculous survival after crashing in the very same spot just nights ago, without a single injury. The retrieved specimen is taken to a research facility, where scientists make an astonishing revelation. The alien fragment contains genetic sequences from an array of organisms, plants, animals, and even human DNA. They conclude that this material is not just an organism, but a pure manifestation of abiogenesis, the fundamental process of life emerging from inorganic matter. This is not mere evolution, it is the genesis of life itself. Back at the abandoned factory, Daniel and Victor push forward with their work, constructing the protective capsule from reinforced steel and cement, placing the alien relic within to shield it from external threats. Meanwhile, Annalise visits her late mother's grave, determined to finally move forward. She gathers some of Evelyn's belongings, intending to burn them in a symbolic farewell, but her moment of closure is interrupted when the agents arrive, demanding to know Daniel's whereabouts. Later that evening, the agents lie in wait at Daniel's house. When he returns, they confront him with undeniable proof. His body has been altered by the artifact's power. They reveal unsettling photographs of another miraculous case, the Mexican man, who also believed himself healed but later died under mysterious circumstances. Pretending to cooperate, Daniel leads them to the barn, where he claims the alien artifact had dissolved in the sun. A burned-out stain on the floor supports his story, and the agents, though skeptical, feign acceptance before departing. Annoyed and frightened, Annalise warns her father that this has gone too far, but Daniel refuses to listen. He insists that Evelyn had shown him a vision, a future disaster of unimaginable scale. His daughter, overwhelmed, breaks down and accuses him of being consumed by guilt, just as he was after Evelyn's transplant failed. That night, Daniel's dreams are haunted by flames devouring Annalise, visions so vivid they jolt him awake. Determined to complete his mission, Daniel returns to the factory, unaware that the agents have begun tracking his every move. Sensing their surveillance, he contacts an old friend for assistance and embarks on a deceptive drive through town, leading them in circles. Eventually, the agents succeed in boxing him in, only to discover they've been tricked. The driver they stopped is not Daniel, but his accomplice. Frustrated, they shift their strategy, deciding to target Annalise instead. Meanwhile, Marcus's employer realizes his truck has vanished. Reviewing security footage, he sees a figure using an employee's key, but is unable to identify the culprits. Marcus is ordered to recover the stolen vehicle, no matter what. At the factory, Victor remains hard at work, watching as the alien tendrils weave themselves into the capsule, spreading like veins through steel. His mind drifts to the battlefield, the comrades he lost, the lives that could have been saved. That evening, Annalise arrives at Victor's home, desperate for someone to confide in. She recounts how her father, blinded by desperation, neglected Evelyn in her final days, choosing to chase money for medical treatments instead of cherishing what little time they had left. She fears he is spiraling once more. Victor, moved by her words, promises to protect Daniel and introduces her to Jim, a fellow veteran. Victor attempts to convince Jim that a cure exists, demonstrating his regrown leg. But Jim, skeptical and bitter, dismisses it as an illusion. As Annalise and Victor depart, they are ambushed by the agents. That same night, Marcus tracks Daniel to the factory, recalling their childhood days playing in its ruins. Shocked by the cache of stolen goods, Marcus panics. If he is implicated, he will lose everything. He attempts to call the authorities, but Daniel, fearing exposure, lunges at him. A struggle ensues, escalating into a fight. In the chaos, Marcus's head collides with the metal workbench. When Daniel kneels beside him, he realizes with horror that his friend is gone. A familiar voice echoes in his mind. It's Evelyn. She tells him to do what must be done. Resigned, Daniel disposes of the body in flames. Then, peering inside the capsule, he witnesses something incredible. The vines have spread across the entire interior, forming a living, pulsating structure. Another vision overtakes him. Evelyn, radiant and alive, dancing with him once more. Overcome with emotion, Daniel confesses his sins, believing himself unworthy of redemption. But Evelyn's message is clear. The capsule was never meant for him. It is for Annalise and Victor. At home, Annalise and Victor remain handcuffed under the agent's watchful eyes. The television broadcasts grim updates. The war has escalated into nuclear threats. Agent Kane attempts to manipulate them into cooperating, but they remain silent. Frustrated, Kane grabs a fire poker and strikes Victor's newly regrown limb. Annalise protests but is effortlessly shoved aside. The ordeal continues until Daniel, lurking in the shadows outside, ignites a gasoline-soaked pile of belongings, setting a diversionary fire. The guards outside notify Cain, who dispatches his men to investigate, leaving him alone with his captives. This is the opening Daniel needs. He stealthily enters the house and holds Cain, persuading him to drop the keys. Annalise wastes no time. Grabbing the fire poker, she delivers a swift blow to the back of Cain, knocking him to surrender. As they make their escape, more agents close in. A battle erupts. Cain, regaining consciousness, fires at Annalise. Victor retaliates, injuring Cain before dragging Annalise into a getaway vehicle. Cain grins, knowing that Daniel will seek to heal his daughter, and that is exactly what they want. On the road, Annalise, growing weaker, whispers that Evelyn is waiting for Daniel. As they reach the factory, Daniel desperately places her inside the capsule. At first, nothing happens. He spirals into despair, believing everything was in vain. Frustration and anguish consume him, and as the agents arrive, he douses the capsule in gasoline, prepared to burn it all down. Before he can act, Annalise stirs. She emerges from the capsule, completely healed. Relief washes over Daniel, only for Cain to fire his weapon at Daniel without hesitation. As Daniel crumples, Victor and Cain engage in another fight. This time, Agent Rowe, disturbed by Cain's growing madness, turns against him, wounding him in the shoulder. Suddenly, the earth trembles. A blinding light flashes in the distance. The first nuclear warheads have detonated. Across the world, people emerge from their homes in silent horror, watching as civilization collapses. Jim, unable to face another war, unalived himself in solitude. Back in the factory, Daniel, with his last breath, instructs Victor to protect Annalise. As sirens wail and fire consumes the sky, he seals them inside the capsule. Cain pounds on the metal shell, begging Daniel to open it, but it is too late. The alien relic reacts. Water floods the interior, submerging Annalise and Victor. At first, panic seizes them, but then tiny glowing fragments spread through the water, inducing a deep, frozen slumber. As Daniel takes his final breath, Evelyn's spirit welcomes him into the afterlife. The world as it was ends. Centuries later, the capsule finally opens. Annabelle and Victor awaken to a changed world, an overgrown ruin, where metal has rusted and the land is unrecognizable. They are the last of humanity. A new dawn begins. If the world was ending, would you trust a vision or your father's regrets? Do you think Daniel was a hero or just a desperate man clinging to ghosts? And what kind of world do you think Annalise and Victor woke up to? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your theories. And if stories like this grip your soul and twist your mind, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next one.